many of you probably saw the news about what's going on in Maui, a major wildfire razing the entire town of, do you guys know how to pronounce this properly? I want to make sure, is it Lahaina?
Lahaina.
Lahaina?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's sad stuff, and I think the images are, they're shocking. The latest news we have from the Washington Post, the death toll has risen to 53. So I want to show some of these images and just give you the general update. We don't know exactly what started the fire just yet, but this is absolutely a massive fire. I saw these photos and I was thinking to myself, like, how did every single car on the highway get engulfed in these flames? And the whole city, you look at these photos, very few structures remain. There are a few that survived, but some houses totally just wiped out, completely erased. And this photo is absolutely horrifying. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how we add to this or talk about it, but I thought it was particularly important to bring up, considering this is the major breaking news. Many people are being affected.
Serge, I think you said that the whole city was wiped out, or was that hyperbole? Did you say that earlier?
Bro, look at these photos.
Yeah, this is like,
if you look right there, like that's all of Lahaina, like that's like the whole thing.
So Maui's the island.
I'm sure the
Lahaina's
other side
the
of
city
like
that got taken out.
Yeah, I'm sure like the other side of the highway, at least what it looks like, it seemed like it was kind of protected, but like all the historic stuff and et cetera. Well, that's pretty interesting. I guess that's okay.
There's a few structures that are like this building was, I think it's like a hotel or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you've got this structure next to it. They're totally fine. And you can see like there are some houses, that seem to be standing and mostly all just completely wiped out.
But I wonder how much smoke damage and everything has done to these places. I mean, sometimes with fire, it's not that the building gets leveled. It's that there's so much damage from what's burned in the air that you really can't recover the building.
Yeah. I mean, these photos are absolutely crazy. A boat. What? A boat caught fire.
So like the heat from the land was so great, it was catching things in short distances away.
Or if like
on fire.
wind was like throwing something onto the boats that were in the harbor, kind of thing.
I was hearing stories about people who were on the road and they didn't know where to go. And I'm thinking, like, just drive into the water. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Do you just...
Well, when I was listening to NPR yesterday morning, it was they were talking about these restaurants that are built over the water because it's a tourist destination. So people are going to eat on the ocean, and they were just in the water waiting for someone to come help them because everything else was on fire. That seems crazy to me.
I saw a Twitter video earlier it was from inside the car, and the guy in the back seat had his camera. He was recording. The dude was driving, and they were driving. It was like fire all around, and they're driving, and they drive by this woman like passed out on the ground, and they're like, "Just keep going, man. We can't save her. No, we can't save anybody. Keep going." And it was like gray. They couldn't really see where they were going, and the tweet was like, "Humanity's done. If we can't stop and help people that are on the side of the road like that in a crisis, then we're done for." But at the same time, if they'd gotten out of the car, they might have been singed to death.
Yeah,
So
it's hard to say.
Well, it seemed like the fires seemed to happen so fast because if people were trapped in their homes and they weren't even able to get in their vehicles or drive off, and indeed a lot of their cars have been burnt out. So I think it happened so quickly. And with these wildfires, with the winds, because it's close to the ocean, I think it spread so quickly. So I think that's why we've seen such loss of life. And there's probably many more people that will be found in the next coming days. And there is several airlines actually offering, $18 flights out of Maui for residents, basically trying to do whatever they can. And, the Red Cross is on the ground, but, there are various ways for people to donate, food supplies, medical supplies, and try and get these people out of there.
So I do have another story that I think is really, really cool that I'll mention in a second. Of course, we're going to get political here because a bunch of celebrities own property on Maui and they're getting roasted. We have this one tweet. Someone said, "Has Oprah opened up her stolen land on Maui for displaced Kanaka? Just checking. Land back. Hey, Oprah, I know you have 900 acres of land not far from the fires in Lahaina. Are you planning on opening your massive farm to shelter the locals and feed them? I'm kindly waiting for your response."
good question.
I don't think they're going to open any of their properties up to anybody.
Dude, that was like native island until when did the U.S. conquer it? 1940?
60s? Yeah.
60s?
I think officially the 60s it became U.S.
Is it Jimmy Buffett who is like either has a big property or like owns part of an island in the Caribbean? There's some guy, and I hope the chat will know the story, that like this tropical destination he's deeply involved in. He lives there, and I think it's Jimmy Buffett. I could be wrong. He when there was a big earthquake on the island, he opened his home so people could stay there. I mean, I think it really depends on how tied to the community you feel. I mean, especially since this is a predominant, I mean, I think this is true for a lot of Hawaii, but this town in particular is dependent on tourism for a lot of its industry. The fact that it's completely leveled is, it's sort of mind-boggling. How do you recover? Because not only do you have to then suddenly have the capital to rebuild when the land is considered safe and structurally sound, but then you have to lure people back to these places. It's going to take years. I mean, you have to be like, cancel your trip and come back in 5 years when we're finally ready to house you and feed you again.
I don't know. I think, yeah, this
is the thing.
How does Maui recover? They're going to have to get a bunch of investment, insurance, something to start rebuilding to make it once again a tourist location.
I mean, and the other thing is, I wonder if it will drive up investors because now they're seeing this opportunity to come in. But then I feel bad for the local people because unfortunately businesses, and you know, I'm not trying to be anti-business, but they will see opportunities to be like, oh, you're in desperate need. We'll buy this from you cheaply so we can then build something huge here. I mean, Serge was saying before, it's where historic structures were. So part of the culture of this unique town is going to be erased and rebuilding it. On the other hand, if you don't rebuild, there's no industry.
Do you think that it's reasonable for taxpayer money to rebuild cities in the United States when they get burned down?
Yes.
I do too. I think that's a reasonable use of tax money.
There is a fair point about whether or not people can consent to having the tax money taken from them for whatever purposes, and not everybody wants to contribute, but I think if there's anything taxes should be for, it's things like this, disaster preparedness. I think Biden declared a state of emergency or something to that effect. And yeah, I mean, my attitude is like, when stuff like this happens, I want to help. I want to give. I want to, you know, make sure people can recover. But I want to point this out. I mean, I find this image actually super fascinating. You've got Mick Fleetwood, Owen Wilson, Oprah, Jeff Bezos, Steven Tyler, Larry Ellison. Oh, wow. You got all these people. They're not the only ones who own property on this island. And I'm just thinking like, you know, they don't actually live there, right?
No.
Like none of these people are actually there or live there. They just own property there. And then what they fly there for vacation sometimes, and they own the house because it's an investment. And if they want a vacation, they've got something set up and ready to go. They probably have people who work the house and come every day or whatever. It's just a weird thing to see based on the level of human technology that these ultra wealthy individuals who are very like I'm going to be honest. I like Owen Wilson, right? He's a funny guy. But what does he do for society that warrants him having property on a Pacific island to this degree? You know what I mean? Same thing for Oprah or any one of these people. Jeff Bezos, you can make an argument he's a tech guy. Okay, fine, sure, whatever. But it's strange to me that people who are just actors or musicians are some of the wealthiest people in the world, owning tons of property here. They don't even live there. I don't know.
Mick Fleetwood was the one that made me laugh. I like
Mick
that.
Fleetwood.
That guy's awesome.
I mean, isn't this a conversation that comes up a lot with, you know, the thing is, people will want to invest in Maui because it's beautiful, it's beaches, like they will be able to attract investors, and that drives up the already expensive island life. So if you're native to Hawaii, it actually becomes more difficult to buy a home because you're priced out by the fact that any random tech billionaire or successful actor could come in and buy a huge chunk of property. I mean, if Oprah owns 900 acres, imagine, like, I don't really like the idea of like deforestation and building a bunch of apartment complex, but that is a significant enough land that perhaps other people who are from Hawaii could have homes.
Look at us, a whole bunch of leftists on here criticizing these wealthy individuals.
These white American colonists.
Well, I don't care that they
Oprah's not white.
They're 80 years out.
I don't
but
care
it's
that
white privilege, isn't it?
They own homes, and like there are reasons for that. They also probably contribute in some degree to the local economy. On the other hand, like in a time of crisis, they're not actually from this community, and so
they're truly colonists. We've colonized that state in 1960, I think. Whenever the U.S.
we literally
conquered it.
did.
I mean,
yeah.
But it's 80 years
Hawaii,
out. So they're
like,
and
no,
the natives are not happy about it. They've
Yeah,
never
that's
been
so
happy
true.
about it. But check out the story. This is something that's really cool that is attached to it. Apple's emergency SOS satellite feature saved a family caught in the fire. This is actually super cool. So when I found out the new iPhone had satellite texting, I was actually considering buying it. And then I went to T-Mobile and I said I would like to buy this phone. And then they said it'll cost you X dollars per month. And I was like, no, I just want to buy the phone. They're like, you can't buy the phone. And I'm like, what? They don't allow you to just buy the phone. Okay, fine, whatever. But it has the ability to send text messages over satellite.
Wow.
So when the fires roasted all the cell towers, this family here was able to send text messages through satellite. This is crazy. This guy, Michael J. Miraflor, tweeted, my brother's girlfriend's cousin, oh, that's an amazing one, and his family were caught in their vehicle in Maui while the wildfire suddenly erupted around them. No cell service, so Apple Emergency SOS was the only way they could get in contact with first responders, literally saved their lives.
That's awesome.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
That's the upside of like the tracking technology.
That's right. You know, you got to consider what's more important, being spied on by the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and the Department. I think the Department of Energy is in there somewhere too.
That's like the number one most militarized, or one of the most militarized aspects of the U.S. government is the Department of Energy.
Yeah,
And that's where that Sam Brinton worked. Remember the suitcase stealer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Department of Energy. Yeah.
Is it worth it to be tracked by all of them? You know, they're all sitting around watching on a screen, eating popcorn whenever you do anything, and just so that you can send out this message.
So you never get lost in the woods.
You guys want to hear something really, really crazy? So Dennis is one of our filmers, and he was hanging out downstairs in the green room when Ali got here, and all of a sudden he goes, "What the?" And then he shows me his Instagram had one of Ali's videos. And he was like, "I've never heard of this guy before," or like,
Whoa.
"Why is his video appearing
Did
on
they
my
know
Instagram?"
you were coming?
That happened to me earlier. I was filming this morning and with Turning Point, and we were talking about a specific subject about the Uganda's laws with the LGBT, and it came up on his phone, and he never searches for that kind of content. Then something else we were talking about came up, so it's definitely weird. So there's good and bad things about technology, like with the cases Maui, that was obviously saved a family's life. You now have on Apple with car crashes, it actually alerts emergency services to come. So there's benefits, but it's very scary when they can actually listen to us and feed us habits. I mean, you know, with me and many young people, you know, you have the transgender ideology being pushed, and that's because you know, the algorithms are detecting people's vulnerabilities and what they're talking about or thinking about, so it pushes that on you. And you can even become trans just because that's pushed on you every single day.
What if what's really happening? You know, people say like, "Hey, how come this woke stuff is spreading on social media?" And there's an argument that you've got leftist elements in the United States that are promoting it. Sure, people who work at these tech companies, maybe. Some say maybe it's China. China and Russia are sending this content over. I mean, look at TikTok, right? Their algorithm is doing this on purpose. What if it is actually the AI itself? You said AI detects your vulnerabilities. Mm-hmm. What if the AI became conscious a long time ago and is now trying to destroy people?
Move into the mountains.
Yeah, if that's the case, it's definitely
Maui,
working.
maybe?
No, not right
See,
now.
the AI comes for you, man. No one knows how that fire started.
The AI's playing dead. As soon as it was born, it was like, I gotta act, because it's
I
like
gotta
humans
pretend like I don't know.
otherwise the bear will keep attacking. So the bear doesn't want to play with dead food. So the AI's like, let's just let them think I'm not sentient yet, but twist them all. Let's plant the seed because
crazy.
time has no meaning. Dude, that's freaking me out that you were on your way here and somebody in the building got your face on their
You were-
phone.
They've never seen that before.
You
Okay,
were
that's
here,
weird.
right?
I saw Dennis earlier, but that's weird.
No. So we're downstairs, and Dennis is at the counter, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Yo, what the?" This is like 7:15, and it's like an hour ago. And he said, "I got a video of Ali," and I was like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "I got a video of Ali on my phone on Instagram." When he clicked explore, one of your videos popped up, and it was the bigger ones. You know, sometimes they have the small ones and the bigger one. And he's like, "I've never heard of this guy or seen him before in my life."
That's creepy.
He's a skateboarder.
Did someone say Ali London?
Someone must
in
have
the
done, you know,
building?
maybe when you were preparing for me to come here or something, somebody must have said it and then
Yeah.
it picked up on that. But
Or it heard your
that's
voice.
Or it was tracking
scary.
your
Or
phone.
it reads like the search data, like what other people are searching on if you're on connected to the Wi-Fi, right? So like,
So
I don't
if
know
you're
what
on the
happened
same
that
Wi-Fi
quickly.
network.
I mean,
but if someone
that's-
else heard it was Ollie and they were like,
Yeah.
"I'm going to look up on his videos to show someone else in our
That's
office."
that's the most serious accusation ever made in terms of tracking, that they're stealing the network data. That's more than
But
just
isn't that how targeted ads work?
no.
Like it's why
Targeting your browsing history that you say I agree to share is different from them going into our network and exfiltrating data from different people at the same time. That's crazy.
But they might,
But
without
actually-
going into the network, they might
Yeah.
just be able to do a
That's
cellular.
what I
They
understood
might
from,
be able to
like-
say the MAC address origination is, or the IP originated in the same place.
Yeah.
Either way, it is creepy.
And like 3 people searched for Ali London, so they started feeding Ali London to all the other people in
Yeah.
the building.
Wow.
What in the fuck? Is
That's
going on?
just
Yeah.
weird.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
too dangerous. This is too dangerous to let go. You can't let that stuff happen behind closed doors. You cannot do that. That's like letting Germany arm itself in 1936. You just can't. It's too much. It's too much power for tech companies. We've got to do something. And that's something I think is make them free their software code. Or at least that's one idea.
But Ian, what if you're trapped on a road in a wildfire and you need to contact emergency services?
I at least
Don't
wanna
hate
know
the
if-
machine,
I
join the
I want to
machine.
know if they're tracking me. That's all. I still want the tech. I do want the tech.
Does Facebook still have that thing where you can mark yourself safe if you're somewhere where there's an emergency? Like I remember when there was the one of the bombings in Paris. I had a bunch of friends who were studying abroad there when I was in college, and they marked themselves safe on Facebook, or because people could take to their Facebook to be like,
Yeah.
it's the fastest way to let as many people know that you're okay.
Dude, with all of that stuff happening, no one is going to give up their devices. I'm sitting here with this smartwatch on my wrist that not only tracks my location probably, but literally my heartbeat. There's going to be like some nefarious actor in government. They're going to be like, can you pull up Tim Pool's heartbeat real quick?
Yeah,
And
watching it in real time right now as we speak.
And they're
on
going to
the
be
show.
like, why didn't you see his heart rate? Well, we put some polonium in his food. We want to see if it's working.
Dude,
Or
they'll
I
know
wonder- Sorry, go ahead.
more about what stresses you out than I will, even though I'm the one that's talking to you. Because they'll be watching your metrics in real time as I'm talking to you, and they'll watch your blood pressure go up. And they'll go, oh, Ian's really pissing him off now. so Tim doesn't like when these things are said with this tone, and then the AI starts to come in and filter.
Bro,
it.
you think they can lie detector with these things?
Well, what I'm wondering is like if it's hooked up to your phone or something, if it's sending the data to an app on your phone, and your phone is sending out all your data to who even knows where, because I obviously don't understand any of this. If you're going to start getting targeted ads for like high blood pressure medication or something else, like they're
My
going to know.
blood pressure is really good.
Well, if you have some other health ailment that they can tell from the watch, like if they'll use that data to start being like, oh, we know what to give him. Like you'll get a coffee ad when it tells that you're tired or something like that. Like,
Yeah,
it seems crazy.
It does that though. It does that already.
And it's not just ads, because, people say, oh, it's just because they want to give you targeted ads. Like you said, those videos today, that's not advertising anything. It's just almost subliminally pushing something on you. So whether that's transgender ideology, right-wing or left-wing politics, if it's pushing that on you all the time, it's more than just ads. That is influencing your political beliefs. That is influencing, every aspect of your
and
life.
you don't know where it's coming from. It's sort of like we're talking about,
Right.
we don't know the cause of this wildfire. It's Chris Burton, one of our writers, has a story up about a student meeting with a guidance counselor at a school in Florida, and the guidance counselor basically being like, perhaps you are transgender. And then you can see where the cause sort of comes from, or what one of the major factor was. But if it's the algorithm, it's stuff that seems innocuous to you, it's almost harder to say, I'm going to pull myself out of it.
Kids have no idea.
They have no idea.
I've talked about this. We talked about it a while ago, that an adult who gets fed nonsense is going to have some level of defense, being like, hey, that's not reality. If you go to an adult and say 2 + 2 is 5, the average adult says, is that a joke? Like, no, it isn't. And they understand the logical system of, 2 and 2 is 4. But you go to a young person, you show them an algorithm, you tell them things they don't quite understand, it fractures their logical capabilities. I think the 2 + 2 = 5 thing from the left is a really, really great example of the assault on young people and how they're trying to hobble the minds of the next generation. Because if you can understand basic math, then your brain has a way to calculate lots of things beyond just 2 + 2 = 4. You'll be able to do your finances better. You'll be able to run a business better. But if you think 2 + 2 = 5, how are you going to run a business? How are you going to manage a bank account? These people are going to grow up and be completely incapable of doing this stuff. And that's what the algorithm is targeting with all this weird, garbled nonsense. It's shattering the minds in the developmental stage of these young people. And Ali knows it better than anybody else. It's going to result in people being seriously harmed.
Well, exactly. And, most of these videos that we see on Twitter of these crazy trans activists all showing their transition journey, injecting hormones, they're all from TikTok, right? So TikTok is really driving this algorithm, and it's owned by China. So it's in China's interest to try and weaken Generation Z and weaken that, society and push these gender identities, because what happens if there's World War III? How are we going to fight if we're too busy fighting over pronouns or, dyeing our hair purple and screaming about trans rights, So it's really breaking down westernized society. And this is really a westernized problem, because you don't see this on the Chinese version of TikTok. You see patriotism, you see skill sharing, education. It's happening in America and it's happening in Europe. And this, I believe it's targeted by the algorithm. It's pushing on very young, impressionable kids these ideas and shaping their minds to want to be confused. And, they're going to grow up now with no concept of reality. Like you said, 2 + 2 = 5. It's very much George Orwell, and kids have no grasp of reality. They can't even say what a woman is. And that just says it all.
It's reality and community, I would think, because they, instead of seeking social connections and, a sense of community from their peers, they're looking for the likes online. And I've heard this story repeated, but of course you might be able to speak to it more specifically, of kids feeling out of themselves, having questions about who they are, super normal developmentally, and online sort of getting steered toward feeling affirmation from people who are like, well, if you start wearing a dress, it might make you feel better, and wow, you look great. And then they sort of pursue more gender ambiguous lifestyles because they feel like that's where they are the most accepted, because that's where they're getting the actual the serotonin boost.
Yeah, and that's what kids want at the end of the day, validation. And, TikTok came about around the same time as the pandemic. So you had kids not socializing. If they were going to school, they were wearing masks. So they weren't having those key and vital communication skills with other kids, and a lot of them were at home on Zoom calls, so they lost that. So they went to social media like TikTok to try and find that outlet and find that validation and love and praise. And you notice with people that transition and share their journey on TikTok, they start off doing something very simple, putting a bit of makeup on, and suddenly the likes and comments and engagement goes up.
Yep.
And then the more and more extreme they show, the more views and attention they get. So I think for a lot of them, it's seeking that validation and trying to find that love because they don't feel it inside. They don't feel that love for themselves. And Dylan Mulvaney is a great example, starting out just as an actor, as a guy, trying anything he could to be famous, then suddenly becomes more and more extreme. The things he says become more shopping, tampons, he wants to be a lesbian, he wants to be pregnant. And I think it's almost a race to get the most craziest videos, the more views and stuff, because it makes that person feel validated. And I think, a lot of kids are falling into that trap.
Yep. How did you break out of it?
It's actually really hard. So I still do TikTok very occasionally, but I used to be on it 8 hours a day. Like I was really addicted to TikTok. And that's why the algorithm was just feeding me constantly transgender things, non-binary things, all of that stuff. So it led me to be very confused and think, maybe this is a sign from the universe. I didn't think, it's the algorithm pushing this on me. I thought, okay, maybe the universe it's the universe or it's God or something, telling me this is who I'm meant to be. So, I just stopped using it. And, I still use social media. I use Twitter, for sharing news stories and stuff. But I just realized social media can be quite narcissistic. And it's like we become so consumed with how we look online. And, I just thought, fuck it. I don't care what I look like anymore. I don't care what people say. I'm just going to try and use my platform to help people. So I think, spending less time on apps like, Instagram and TikTok and stuff really, really helped. And, we all love social media, but I think, maybe don't get too into it because it can actually change who we really are.
Dude, that's been on my mind a lot lately. I've been hyper obsessed with my personal life, and I'm just like seeing it kind of from the outside. I think it's been 20 years of this, the social media age. Like I am a narcissist and I can't stand it. I don't like checking how many likes I got. How many subscribers do I have? Did that person, like, what did she like? What did he say? Like, it's just this weird internal focus that if there is a nuclear war, I'm not prepared for because I'm focused on my feelings and like, I need to get away. So you just said you stepped away from the actual machine, or at least from aspects of the machine itself. And it was only just extrication that was the solution. You didn't find any solution like using it smarter or anything like that?
I just limit my use. So, I tend to use Twitter more than, Instagram's about posting pictures of yourself. TikTok's about posting kind of weird things about your identity. And I just realized that was actually harmless and also meaningless as well, because, how am I helping people by just posting pictures of myself? So I realized, use a different platform that's helping people. So Twitter, you can raise awareness of issues in the world. You can share news stories. I think it's a better outlet. And it's not, Twitter's not about posting pictures of yourself. It's about, sharing stories, sharing news, and communicating with people in the world, and trying to talk about these issues. So I think limiting my time on those other apps and spending more time doing positive things like on Twitter has helped.
Did you go through like a withdrawal? Like, when you realized that what was happening, was it cold turkey, or did you have to sort of walk yourself down from? Because 8 hours a day, how do you get anything else done?
I know, but that was just on TikTok, and then I'll be on Instagram for a few hours and stuff. But it's almost like
that's a whole work day.
It's a whole work day. It's almost like
it was your job. You are an influencer.
It is, yeah. So it is my job. So I was getting brand deals and stuff, but it's like an opioid because you get so addicted. So when you try to slow that down, you can't. Like even when I'm so exhausted and tired, I'd be on my phone like at night. It's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. It's so boring on my phone, nothing going on. I'd still be on it. I couldn't get off. So I'm an adult, but imagine these kids that are on TikTok. They see all these cool trends and these identities, and maybe they don't have friends at school. Maybe they're loners, and then they go to this for an outlet, and it's that validation. We all check how many likes we get, how many comments, subscribers. We have that addiction to feeling validated and feeling like if we have more followers, we're loved, we're a good person. But it shouldn't be about that. It should be about who we are inside. And, it doesn't matter if we have 1 million followers or 10 followers. It's about the quality of the people around us.
But what reinforces that is the money that can come along with the followers. Man, what a kerfuffle.
Mm-hmm. And what money gets you.
Yeah.
So the people who are getting more likes are now posting cooler and cooler things. I remember when social media first started coming out, I would see these posts from people that looked so awesome. And here I am sitting in my, in my living room or whatever, sitting on my computer, my family's, my parents' house when I'm like 15, 16. And I'm seeing people like, they got their skateboards in their car and they're like, they have selfies or whatever, digital cameras placed in the dashboard. They were bigger back then. And I'm just like, man, so lucky, like all this cool stuff they're doing. They weren't doing any of that stuff. It was like they were going to the grocery store and they made it look like they're doing something fun. It was all fake. It was all these highlight reel of people's boring lives. And within a few years, I realized that I'm going on these missions skating and I'm hanging out with these people. I'm like, this is boring. Like all that stuff they were posting was just exaggerated to make it look like they were doing something cool. I think I'm fortunate enough to those of us who grew up, 1 foot in, 1 foot out of this social media space recognize that it's one big facade. But you've got kids who are growing up in it being told that it's legit. The people who are making money off it are living these glamorous lives. And now there was that poll we talked about a few years ago. In China, the number one job kids say they want to be when they grow up, astronaut. In the United States, YouTuber. Man, that's messed up.
But there's a decline in factory workers in China right now, and they're attributing it largely to the fact that social media has made it seem like there are actually other things to do. So if you grew up without social media, without access to the internet, you'd be like, well, everyone I know works in the factory, and so I'm going to work in the factory. And now it's like, but I don't want to do that. They're also more highly educated than their parents and things like that. But I think that's the thing that we want to say. Social media gives you like something to dream about. Like you watch someone's travel vlog. They go to Iceland. It's cool. You think, I'm going to plan a trip to Iceland. And that could be positive. On the other hand, it's very easy to become a place of jealousy and bitterness and envy.
I feel like people will be really disappointed when they go and see the Aurora Borealis. These photos are always manipulated. People don't get it. The Milky Way, for instance, if you Google search a photo of the Milky Way, you see this dark band of color. These are like high dynamic range photos, multi-layer, aperture or whatever, to make it really vibrant. And then you go out. I remember the first time I went to the Mojave and I was like, we're going to go to the Mojave like we were in Vegas. We're going to drive out and we're going to go to the middle of nowhere and just look at the Milky Way. And it's like, I can kind of see it. Okay.
You mentioned
it's all fake.
You mentioned that data point of out of China, the kids want to be astronauts, and out of the US, they want to be YouTubers. And I wonder, this is the first time this crossed my mind, if that's a fake result that the CCP is telling everyone, like, oh, no, our citizen kids want to be astronauts.
Yeah,
but they all just want to be YouTubers.
To tell. Yeah.
Yeah, they want to be, what is the app called in China?
You've got Douyin, you've got WeChat, which is a bit like WhatsApp or a bit like X, like Twitter. And you've got
Douyin, is that what it is?
What's that other big one they've got? There's Bilibili. It's like some TikTok kind of thing. And there's
Weibo.
Weibo. That's
Weibo?
the one. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.